Yeah, Mike did it
Well,
underneath.
hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ. Happy
and
Halloween.
and he is and he's responsible for this decorations. I don't do this part of the show, so he's doing all the decorations. So, uh, yep. Tonight is Halloween. Steve said, "Oh, nice graphics." See, CJ, you're getting compliments on your graphics already, right? Do we have like one of a giant pile of shit? So whenever we put Coogan's, uh, uh, whenever we talk about Coogan, we can put that graphic up on the screen. I don't know. Uh, Maybe we do. But yeah, welcome to Halloween. Don't eat too much candy, everybody. Don't OD on the candy. Again, as we enter the week before the big election next week, we'll only have one more show before the election. And it's as quiet like as a church mouse. I don't see much campaigning being done. I know there are a few people working out there, but I mean, as far as the city council and the school committee, I mean, it's been
Crickets.
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 It's baffling that these, I mean, I've seen a couple of new signs go up, but very few signs. I saw signs for names I've never even heard of. I think the last time I heard those names is when you read off the certified candidates.
Right.
So it's kind of bizarre. Jimmy, hi, hello. Uh, yeah, it's I don't know. They want to run for office, but going to these little debates and stuff, you don't get anything out of a debate. I'm sorry. I mean, we ran a bunch of them. We did them because, well, we figured it'd bring some attention to the election, but I don't really believe they did any good. But people are not. They're just not engaging. They run, but they just put their name on a ballot and they hope that we're going to pick them just because we're tired of the people. And granted, that is almost a valid reason now because they've done such an abysmal job at what they do, especially Coogan. And I have to say that I'm always, you know, we always tell you all the information. I did receive a phone call from Boomer. Actually, it was a text. He had a text. He said he had a question for me, and as we always do, I said, I'll be glad to, answer anything he got. And I said, give me a call, and he did, and we had a very long conversation. So, and frankly, I was surprised. He has done, and we all know, we've been in the game a long time. When somebody declares for mayor, the people who are against the incumbent mayor come out and give you all the dirty things and all the things that they think they have done wrong and stuff. And a lot of the stuff is true, and especially like in Coogan's case. But we had a pretty long conversation. We talked in depth about a lot of things. He told me some things that he had looked at, that he heard about, that he wanted to address at some point. So as far as I'm concerned, he showed me that he did more than a superficial look. He actually um, he actually had a hi Alphonse. He actually had, to be perfectly truthful, I think he did a deeper dive than Sutter or Cliff Ponte did on the issues, and so I was pleasantly surprised by that conversation. It was enlightening for me. I didn't realize that he had looked at a lot of things. We talked about a lot of things, um, and I didn't like. He knows what I wrote about those three in the letters, and he knows where our position is. But he initiated a lot of things, went to places, and he went to places and asked me questions about things to clarify some of the things he had heard about things that he was looking at. And so I thought it was a very enlightening conversation for me. I'm always fair. I'll give credit where credit is due. It was very, very it was a very good conversation. We talked about a lot of things, and and one of the things that I was surprised by was uh, he didn't claim to have all the answers like a lot of them do. He said, "Look, I don't have the answers. I'm asking a lot of questions, and I these are the problem areas that I've been told about and I'm looking at." He called me about one of those problem areas, and it was in collective bargaining and how you manage the collective bargaining and stuff. Uh, and I gave him an honest answer as and I told him that we don't have collective bargaining in this city, uh, but they're giving away the STOA. As a matter of fact, I heard that the police union has just endorsed Coogan, but I also heard that he's promised them 5, 5, and 5 in a new contract. Now that's an allegation. I can't prove it. But again, Coogan's spending money that we don't have and giving them pay raises when he's got 600,000 in the last budget. How much is that going to affect other budgets? We're still looking at Diamond. We still have a definitive look at what Diamond is going to cost us and everything else. But that's the allegation. I'm not going to say it's true. I can't say it's true. Did it come from a fairly reliable source? Yes. Is it true? I don't know. I've heard a lot of allegations. They make up shit all the time. I'm sorry. But when it comes to stuff like this, it sounds pretty credible that he's gonna pump another pay raise to somebody before an election year. It's kind of the Coogan strategy, and we all know that. Well, for years ago, we did have a situation where they said that the police got something that wasn't publicized, and we did a deep dive, and I found out that they did, but they denied it up to the hilt but then the firefighters rejected the contract because we didn't get it. Then they finally admitted they did give it to them. So collective bargaining is a you can't come out until it's finalized, but it doesn't surprise me. So, I thought it would be important. So, to say that I did have a conversation, he reached out to me. I didn't, and I said, if you want to, I'd like to hear your position, and I did, and I am, like I said, I am satisfied that now I can not just say I'm voting, anybody but Coogan, but I feel that, but like everything else, I got to say that everybody that's elected as a non-incumbent is always elected on what they say. Do they all do what they say? No. I voted for Eddie Lambert the first time he ran for mayor. I knew Eddie Lambert as a state rep. He voted 100% for firefighter issues. We supported Eddie Lambert throughout his career as a state rep. And when he became mayor, he just kicked the crap out of things. And we went hammer and tong for a long time, many, many years. We were going, we picketed him. We did a whole bunch of things. We had a lot of very, very contentious stuff. Yeah, sweeping his car accident. Yeah, but this is the thing. When you get anybody in office, they can, then it becomes a test. Are you going to do what you say? And the only guy that really got in office and really tried to turn this city around was Bob Correa. What did he do? He said, "Listen, this city's we can't afford this kind of. We got to start controlling things." He made everybody take a pay cut or layoffs. And when he did that, he pissed off a lot of people. But he was doing the right thing for the city because you have to rein in the spending. And they all got together and they had another low turnout election, and he got bounced. He also had an issue with the way he was kind of dictatorial as the mayor, but he was doing the right thing. And so,
but remember, the fire department didn't take the pay cut; they chose for layoffs within the fire department. Then they bitched about low manning. So
yeah, well, you can't. Well, that was Mike Coogan. That was Mike Coogan. That was a Coogan.
Yeah, that was.
Because, and I'm going to tell you, it wasn't something that's new. When I ran a union and we were given that ultimatum as a bargaining unit, I did not make the decision. I'm the president. I was the president. I was the chairman of the bargaining committee. But I don't make that decision for the body. This is their lives. It's their, and we brought it to the body and said, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to make the concession, or do you want to take the layoffs? And when I was the president, the body all stood up unanimously and said, no, we'll take the layoff. We will take the layoffs. We want to get the pay raise so we can come back to a job that is going to be paying, in line with other fire departments. They made that choice. It didn't come to that. We ended up not getting the layoffs, but they made that choice. But today, I don't know if that's a factor. What's the police chief make now? $200,000 and some thousand.
Right.
You realize that that's 5 times what the household income is in the city of Fall River?
Well, let's also look at something else. You allege that the police department, the police union, has been promised 5, 5, and 5.
I didn't allege that. I said somebody told me that, so it's an allegation.
Right. Somebody's made the allegation of 5, 5, and 5.
Somebody made the allegation, not I.
So here's the kicker. That's fine, but that 5, 5, and 5 goes up the line as well, which I think people don't understand. They think, oh, it's just the guys on the street. No. When the guys on the street get it, everybody else gets it.
And it has a multiplier principle.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
It's more than 5 and 5.
They get their percentage increase because of their rank.
That's right. So there is a multiplier principle involved there. And listen, let me make something clear, CJ. I'm a labor guy. I believe in trying to get as much money as you can. But also, that's a double-edged sword. When people, and I understand that the police now have a tremendous bargaining advantage because people don't want to do the job anymore, and I don't blame them. I said that. But what's happened is it's transitioned that they're paying, really huge salaries to people. And the reality is there are communities that are going to reach the borderline where you can't afford to pay a patrolman $150,000.
That's right.
In a city like Fall River, where the average income is 30 at 31, and household income is 53, and we can't afford it. Even the NFPA handbook, for years, has said fire departments are controlled because these jobs are mostly personnel. Most of the budget goes to paying people because you got to do the job. And there comes a time where that you cannot have a department, and it says it in the NFPA handbook. I don't know if it still does. I haven't studied in a while, but I studied it a lot to make chief at every rank. But it said that there comes a point where you can only have a certain manning level, because if you exceed that level, that you can't afford it anymore. And that's the thing. When you go to the JLMC, you have to prove ability to pay. I think we are getting very, very close to a situation where in public safety, and I believe they should get a competitive wage and everything else, but we're getting to a point, happy Halloween, Justin, but we're getting to a point where I don't know if we could ever afford to get a manning level above the minimum standard. And because,
especially with the pay rates they're asking for.
yeah, and but it's not only the pay raise. Look, the problem we have in our budget
is also the benefits. Let's not forget, there's also benefits.
The pay raises are big, but the other stuff like keeping them, like having them on the payroll for 2 years after they retire, giving them unlimited. Like I said, I've talked about that. I don't know how anybody can have unlimited accrual.
Right.
I negotiated for nearly 25 years against the city of Fall River. I also consulted in negotiations for numerous unions, police unions, fire unions, even the Mass Nurses Association. I did some work for. I have never seen accrued sick leave, accrued personal days, accrued overtime days rather than taking the money without a cap. I've never seen that before.
Only in Fall River.
And I mean, even when you go to an arbitrator, when they try to talk about sick leave accruals and stuff, there's always a buyback provision. And because you can only accrue so much. After you get to that point, it's you use it or lose it. And sometimes they have a maximum accrual annually. You got to take so many annually, or you got to take so many at some point in time. You can't accrue over a specific amount. And I'm very familiar with contract language. The fact is that, well, that's one of the problems. You got Coogan in there who doesn't know numbers, doesn't know anything. All he knows how to do is pay people. He gave a union president a $40,000 raise. I wonder if that guy was going to do what he wanted. Gave somebody a $20,000 pay raise. You can't run a city that way. You can't run a budget. Even if the person wants to give you a reasonable raise, it has to be reasonable. You just can't throw money at everything because it's going to bite you in the ass at some point. When I went to the JLMC twice, when you go to the Joint Labor Management Commission, because you got a contract dispute, the first thing you have to prove is the ability of the city to pay for your demands. The second thing you have to do is you have to show them the cost of every single demand that you made, and not for the first year, but for the life of the contract, and the burden it's going to put on the city financially. And in the JLMC, when you go there, they appoint a mayor from another city to look at your case and look at the city's case, and they have input to say, do you believe that the city could pay? In my case, the city had enough money to pay for the demands. And when you go to the JLMC, they don't let you, when Fall River was 8th out of 10, the 10 cities of our size that we compared ourselves with the universe, including us, they're not going to tell me I can ask for what they get in Newton, because they're going to go, look at the financial condition of Newton, look at the financial condition of Fall River. You have to go up the ladder incrementally. Your demands have to be reasonable. But, Coogan doesn't care. Listen, Coogan doesn't care. These other people don't care. Coogan is going to move out of Fall River. He moved out of Fall River as soon as he retired. He moved back only to come back here and be a carpetbagger. He's going to leave his little Bobby townhouse and get out of town, just like the people who don't care about the tax increases. Years ago, we voted people out now, but we don't vote people out of now, because a lot of the people who are not voting against Coogan are happy that he's given them the pay raise, and also they're insulated from those pay increases because they don't pay taxes in Fall River.
I was going to say, they don't live here
anymore. The majority
anymore.
of people now who work for the city do not pay taxes in this city. They do not shop in this city. They do not support this city.
Exactly.
And who's that on? It's on the city.
That's right, because they don't enforce the residency requirement.
Yeah.
And the excuse that's given is the unions won't consent. Well, you know what? If the unions won't consent, do like Boston did. make them wait 5 years for a contract.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Menino, that's exactly what Menino did, CJ.
That's right.
And I'm going to tell you something. The unions in Boston are tremendously powerful.
That's
They
right.
got tons of money. The Boston school teachers have their as big as the school teachers unions are in every state. Remember, the school teachers are the strongest unions in every city and town in the country. Because even in tiny little towns with 4 police officers and 4 firefighters and volunteers, they have 50 or 60 or 100 teachers. Boston is so big that with all the teachers union, and a teachers union in Fall River is bigger than the fire and police departments combined for personnel. That's powerful. But compare that with the Boston school teachers. There's so many Boston school teachers that they're the only school teacher union that's not in the Mass Teachers Association retirement system. They have their own. They screwed it up, but they got their own.
It's not doing too well.
but they got their own. And Boston Fire, they've got their own. They got their own credit union. They got their own banquet hall. They got their own, the president doesn't show up for work. He's got a car. He's got a staff. He's got a staff. They got 2,000 firefighters. That's a very wealthy union. Same thing with the police. Same thing with all the Boston locals. All Boston. Got a lot of money. So when Menino took them on, nobody thought he could win. They said, no way he's going to beat those guys. The Boston firefighters actually tied up the tunnels with the trucks one time. They all had to get moved out of there by the police. But it was a very, very contentious time. And the firefighters in Boston went 5 years without a contract. Menino would not budge, and he won.
That's right.
There is a residence requirement in Boston for all city employees. I believe it still is. I don't know if it's been repealed.
No, it has not.
When Menino was there, he broke them. And I knew the president of Boston Firefighters very well. And he told me, he said, I don't know what to do. I said, you're going to have to make a deal. I'm sorry. And he went, well, but Menino finally did give a minor concession. He grandfathered everybody in and said, okay, I'll grandfather you guys in, but every new hire from now and forever will have to live in the city.
And that's like in the contracts that we have in Fall River. We've got union contracts that say you have to live within 25 miles of the city of Fall River. You have to live within 30 miles within the city of Fall River. That's not giving back to the city. That's taking our money and going and spending it somewhere else. Okay? How can you protect a city that you don't know anything about any longer? Because the way it was when you were a kid is not the way it is today. You know that.
That's an understatement.
The way the fire department operated in the 1980s is not the way it operates in the 2025.
That's for sure. No doubt.
And how can you know what needs to be presented that's not coming out of a book for the safety and well-being of the people of a city if you're not there?
Yeah. Well,
and I understand why they don't want to live here. It's a shithole. It's a shithole. Okay? They couldn't wait to make the mass exodus to Somerset and Swansea, Rehoboth, Westport, Dartmouth. They couldn't wait.
No, you're right, CJ.
And that's why we went from a 70% turnout to a 14% turnout. And we think 14% is good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that's when you really lowered the bar. But listen, I've heard both sides of the debate on having mandatory residency requirements, and like I said, Menino made it mandatory for all the unions. I've heard people say, no city should have the right to tell you where to live. You're going to work, you're being paid to perform a service. And, they have a valid point with that. But, especially in the case of public safety. I think that public safety people should live in the city they protect to see what kind of city and how it's being protected. You know, nothing bothers me more than having, when we had a police chief that was on a phone interview driving to the suburbs to go home.
Right.
I don't think that's I don't think that's right.
No.
If you live in Chicago and the place is a war zone and you can't walk out of your house in Washington, D.C. like they had to until Trump brought in the National Guard, and you're the police chief, and at the end of the day, you get in your car and you drive to Virginia or Maryland, and you go live in the burbs, and your wife goes shopping in the suburbs, you know, you don't have the same feel of the city. If your wife couldn't walk out the door without worrying about getting mugged or carjacked like they did in D.C., you might have an incentive to be a little bit more attentive to the crime problem. It wouldn't take the president of the United States to step in. This is the problem.
And
you know, there is something to be said about supporting your city. And, you know, so say, where do you cut the baby in half? I think you should say we give absolute preference to anybody who's a Fall River resident. They get hired first, and they have absolute preference. And it's supposed to be that way now. But then they let them move out. The thing is, as soon as you move out of the city, there has to be a consequence or something like that. But I mean, this is the problem. You're right, CJ. Nobody contributes to the city.
No.
You know, you got 70% of the city employees probably, and that's probably a conservative estimate, that don't live here anymore.
Exactly.
So they're going to go for it, Paul.
Just look at where we had gotten a former CFO, Warwick, and she couldn't do the job.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So what vested interest did she have in Fall River? None.
Yeah. No,
you got Carol Fiola snapping pictures of the elections office saying, these are hardworking people. When you call, they won't even put the phone calls through to Ryan Lyons, and Ryan's not returning phone calls. I can't say he hasn't done that for me. He's returned my phone calls and emails. But I received phone calls today that they tried to get a hold of Ryan, and they couldn't get a hold of him, and they've asked for information like a candidate's phone number. And you know what the clerk said? I can't give you that number until Ryan says it's okay, and Ryan's not in the office. Ryan never seems to be in the office. So how are these hardworking people?
No,
I still got the email with all the phone numbers on it.
Yeah, well, if Carol Fiola says they're hardworking, you know it's propaganda, because
that's right.
We remember that office when we had major turnouts in elections. I mean, big turnouts for Fall River, with one permanent, with
one full timer, one part timer,
one part timer.
Yep.
And a bunch of people that came in on election day, and they ran it very well, by the way.
That's right, they did.
They ran it very well. It was they did an excellent job, and Liz Camara, who's no relation to me, so I'm not saying that because she has the same last name, because she's no relation, did a superb job running that office.
Did.
With very little help. And so, listen, it's all crap. You know, they've got 6 or 7 people working there now, and therein lies the problem. You know, and Coogan's contributed to this problem. I talked to a city employee who told me that they have to live out of town because they can't afford an apartment in Fall River anymore. It's cheaper to live in some of the suburbs if you get lucky enough to find a place, and she did, apparently. What has Paul Coogan done? Didn't Mayor Smiley in Providence just talk about another affordable housing initiative?
78 units. 78 units.
78 units. That's more than Coogan's built in 6 years.
That's right.
And Providence is built.
High rents are good for Fall River.
Oh yeah, but
high rents are beneficial because it will eventually balance out.
His minion said he never said that, but he did. Yeah. We know it. We got it. We know he said that. And then he said Martha's Vineyard, or not the other,
Nantucket rents. Nantucket rents.
Yeah, that the poor man's Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket. Right. So, but this is the problem. You can't. You need to support. You wonder why you can't. Small businesses don't survive in Fall River. The people take their money and run, and it's a very it's terrible. Yeah, well, Jeff, I don't know.
Jeff, the problem is the same assholes. I'm being blunt. The same assholes who have voted for Joe Camara and Linda Pereira for 20 some odd years will continue to vote for them because they're getting something. Not because of the wonderful job they're doing, but because they're getting something.
Yeah, there's $1,500 for studio. Yeah, look, that's insane. Do the math. That's $18,000. That's $18,000. I just did it. It's $18,000 in rent. Per capita income, median per capita income in the city's 31. That's more than.
You shouldn't be paying more than 1/3 of your income.
That's right.
And here's the thing: 1/3 of your income won't even get you a rat's nest in Fall River.
It won't even get you a tent at the homeless camp.
That's right.
Okay, you can't even afford a tent now. But like I said, this is a problem with a lot of parts in it. Not just lack of affordable, and to this day, 6 years later, he still will not. He's still trying to bullshit his way through. They have never addressed it. The problem has gotten progressively worse, and we all know it. And they're covering it up like they cover everything else. Crime statistics, manning levels. They cover everything up. And people move out of the city, and that's the problem. A lot of the city employees, and that's a problem. It's problematic. Look, it's legal. They can do it. But they also have to realize that they should have some loyalty to the city to say, well, geez.
They have a loyalty to their pocketbook.
If I'm going to, but if you say, well, go ahead, Paul, just keep raising the taxes and the fees because I don't care because I'm not paying them, but I'm going to take my paycheck and ask for more money. It's a little disingenuous at best. So, but like I said, we need people to step in. And I'm going to tell you right now, all these pay raises will go right through the council. The council goes in. And Jeff, I think they would be in trouble if we have a high turnout. If we don't have a high turnout, CJ's 100% right. The same people, Joe Camara will get his endorsement from the pulpit. And he has a voter base that's locked in. Linda Pereira has a voter base that's locked in. But
remember, though, that voter base of Linda's never got her elected mayor. Never.
That's right. Not enough to get her elected mayor, but enough to get her in the council.
Because she's one of 9.
One of 9, that's right.
She never could comprehend that.
Well, never. I don't know why she couldn't. We told her that there's never been a city council candidate who topped the city council ticket that ever got elected mayor.
That's right.
In the history of the city. You want me to name some of them? Emerald Gaudette topped the ticket a couple times. Ran for mayor, didn't make it.
Bill Whitty.
I'm sorry. Bill Whitty, numerous times.
Yep.
Kathy Ann Viveris, numerous times. Mike Pulaski. The only guy that used to be a city councilor that got elected was John Mitchell. John Mitchell finished in the middle of the pack
Yep.
for city council all the time. He never topped the ticket. You know, that's because these people don't understand. Cliff Ponte, you're right. I forgot him.
Oh, I didn't forget him. I just wasn't going to mention him.
It was a mental block, Linda. I tried to forget him. I blocked it out. It was the campaign was so poor. But they don't understand that when you run for city council, that if you top the ticket, 80% of your votes might have been the second choice, third choice, fourth choice, or fifth choice, or sixth choice, all the way down to ninth choice of the voter, because you get up to 9 check marks. When you're running head to head, you only get one. You got to be the first pick. You got to know how many first picks you were, and that's the reason that all these people that ran multiple times just couldn't get it, even though we told them. They think you're a nice guy or a nice girl. Yeah, you know, they like you. You got them a street light. You did this, you did that, but we're going to give you my second vote, third vote, fourth vote. But when you run head to head, they go, you think you can do a job better than the person you're running against? And the answer to that was always a no.
Right.
But it did result in some of the funniest things I ever heard. The funniest debate I ever heard. You remember the one between Whitty and Lambert?
Yes, I do.
When Whitty was running for I don't know how many time, and Bill Whitty was a nice guy. I like Bill.
Yeah, Bill's a nice guy. There's no, and that's the thing. Just because they don't win doesn't mean they're lousy guys. It just means they had lousy campaigns.
Yeah, and they overestimated their ability.
That's
but
right.
I'll never forget that debate because Bill was running again for I forgot which time, the third time or the fourth, I don't know. But he was running. They were having a debate at BCC, and we used to go to those debates just to look at them. And they started talking, and Eddie Lambert was a really, really good politician. We always were well prepared, very good debater. And they started talking about things, and then Eddie Lambert looked at him, and Woody made a couple of comments about, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And he said, Bill, you voted 98% for everything I've ever done as mayor. He said, so what could you do differently than me? He said, because, you know, he said, you can't. You would have to divorce. Yeah, he said, but we're going to get a divorce now because you're going to try to do something different. He said, but I'm keeping the house. And I never forget that. In other words, I'm keeping the 6th floor.
I remember that.
That was hysterical. That was one of the best comebacks I have ever heard in a debate to this day. But that's when debates were fun. They had some good debates. I remember when Carlton was debating up there, and there was a fight in the hallway between one of our local really rich guys around there rolling around in the lobby of BCC. But that's when debates were fun. But today they're just ridiculous. But you know, I don't know. City council, I'm looking at the council and I'm looking at the names, and I see maybe one sign for a guy. I saw one for school committee now that saw it today for the first time, never heard of the person. And I'm going, I mean, how can I logically vote for this person?
That I already, my ballot went in a week ago. And it went in with not every vote being cast. I vote maybe 4 in the school committee, maybe 3 in the city council. I mean, I don't normally do that. Normally, I have a take on where everybody stands. This year, I don't have a take on where anybody stands, except incumbents. And only one incumbent got a vote from me in the city council.
Yeah, you're right, CJ. This is one of the first elections where both you and I think, are in the same predicament. I know who not to vote for.
Right.
But I really don't know who to vote for when I got these multiple elections. Now, like I said, I had a conversation with the mayoral candidate. I'm comfortable voting for him, and I will. I know who I'm going to vote for as incumbents because we've been pretty vocal in our support of the people who are speaking up for the people. But like I said, these new people, I'd like to vote for them, but I'm going, I don't know if this guy's like Coogan's distant cousin or this guy's
Well,
just
I was
another
very
guy they throw in
disappointed. I was very disappointed because one of the school committee candidates, Shiv Thakur, used to be one of my students. I had a long conversation with him, where he stood, what he stood on, and he impressed me. And then I told him, now you've got to get this message out to the voters. I heard nothing the entire election process. Nothing. So
Yeah,
if he doesn't get elected, that's his own fault. Because he didn't tell the people what they wanted to hear.
he didn't tell them anything, basically. Has
Right,
he said
that's
anything?
what I'm saying. Nothing was said. I get more information out of my dog's ass.
No, I mean, look we've been around a long time, very long time, and we've been involved in politics for a very long time. I have never seen an election that's like, it's just dead.
Right.
Like I said, I'm seeing a few new signs that have come up in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, but
I look at the sign and I look at the name and I go, well, Chris, I've seen your signs and I know
and Chris, we know where you stand.
Well, but we know you've got a record. You're a man who was an incumbent. I mean, but I see signs like I'm not even going to make that. I'll mix them up because I got someone named Monis who's running for something, and I go, okay, but what's this person? Who's this? What is this person? Who? What are they about? And there's another one. I see these signs that have just popped up in the last week or two. And they're not a lot of them, but there's a couple of them. And I notice stuff like that. It's just in my DNA. So I'm looking at them and I'm going, Jesus, I haven't heard one. I've never heard anything about it. I've never heard about the person. And I'm not going to watch debates with the way these debates are structured. You get no content. The people have got to reach out to people
debates are ridiculous.
And release a press statement or something or go somewhere.
And the one good thing that happened. The one good thing that happened was the city council forum over at Good Shepherd Parish, sponsored by the UIA, the United Interfaith, was canceled because they had 3 candidates say they'd show up. I think they should have just canceled it altogether. The questions were useless during the mayoral debate. They were not pertinent, and they were ridiculous. And they're a nonprofit. You are not supposed to be promoting politics.
That's true.
So I'll file an IRS complaint on them too.
Well, no, as far as Chris is concerned, I mean, look, he made his position for fighting for the people very clear, going, toe to toe with Paul, especially after the Corky Row incidents and on the total, debacle that we call the opera funding.
Oh yeah.
And, he stood up for the people and he did it in the chambers on other issues. But I mean, he showed what he was made of. And he's earned, as far as I'm concerned, he's earned my vote without a doubt because he showed that he's willing to stand up for the people. But I mean, these other people, it baffles me. It's like, why do you put your name in? If you're not if you've got a record, if people know, I mean, if some people can do it without a lot of interaction because if you're somebody that's gone in front of the council a million times and done things and you have a reputation, like if you ran CJ, if I ran, people would know us. You don't have to do a lot of PR. Some of them would never vote for us. Some of them would always vote for us, but that comes with the territory. But we have name recognition and we have position recognition. I mean, we go to stores and people go, oh, I saw you in front of the council the other day and blah, blah, blah. But most people, if you never really ran for political office, you got to get out there and meet people. I don't care if you go to the coffee shops and sit down and just talk to people. That's what you have to do. Then people
and we've done that multiple times.
Yeah.
We've done that multiple times where we've just gone out to take the feel of the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, you
Okay?
don't even get that this time. Did I go to the coffee shop? No.
Nobody's
Everybody's saying,
talking.
give me a coffee.
Yeah. Nobody's talking. We hear nothing. We hear nothing. And that's the sad part about it.
Yeah. And while we're talking, yeah, Adeline is right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what it is. It's all about money and power. That's Fall
That's
River has
it.
become like the
That's
federal
it.
government. It's all about power and money. They want to. He's got a stranglehold on a city, and the big money people, frankly, don't care.
That's right.
They don't care. They don't
All they
care.
care about is their tiffs and ties and getting their tax breaks and getting their development contracts, and that's all they care about.
It's like people in Martha's Vineyard and movie stars saying, "I feel your pain." Horse shit. You don't feel my pain. You live in a mansion in Beverly Hills. You live on Martha's Vineyard. We saw how much they felt our pain when those 50 illegals showed up at Martha's Vineyard and they went nuts. They had the National Guard. They had the buses ready. They got them out of there. They put them in a basement somewhere. They didn't give them a hotel room. They didn't give them free medical care. The first call was, how do we get them out of here?
So they got them on a bus, stuck them on a ferry, and sent them to Boston.
See you later.
Ciao, baby.
Send them to where the poor people live.
That's right.
They're not living in our community, not in my backyard.
That's right.
You didn't see Barack over there having a cookout for them.
That's true.
That's right, NIMBY. That's right, Annalise. And that's why they're hypocrites. They don't live the way we do. They don't care. You think Carol, Fiola, and Kenny care if their taxes go? They're going to sell that house when they're all done. They're gone. They'll be living. They'll probably have
a house somewhere else.
Maybe in Florida and a house in, Bora Bora.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe in Italy. I know they all went to Italy on vacation. All the rich and nauseous went to Italy on a vacation. They were talking about that. But they don't care.
No,
they're not going to care if that he's going to keep giving everybody pay raises until he's out of office, because that's the only thing he knows how to do. He buys everybody, and it's nuts. And when something happens, I can guarantee you. But to switch gears quickly, you protect it. Talking protect. Somebody told me, and I missed it. I got to try to catch it. That Will did an on-air
phone interview with mainstream media.
You did it on channel 12 or 10?
Yep, channel 10.
Channel 10?
I think he gave one to channel 12 as well.
Well, it's good to know he's feeling well enough to do that. So
he thinks he's going to be 100% by Christmas.
Well, I hope he is. But even the fact that he's now getting back to where he's out, he's talking to the media and stuff like that. Yeah, of course, you're right, Linda. People who've never had to struggle, and even if they did have to struggle at one time, once they're worth a few million, they already forgot.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly. They forgot where they came from, most of them. Some of them don't, but most of them do. Well, I don't know how other people feel, but as I said, I said that you and I had a long conversation, and you showed me that you had really been looking into things. We talked about some stuff. You asked my opinion on things that I know about, but you also brought up subjects that showed that you paid attention. You're paying attention, and we know that people who run for office are all. You all get these phantom phone calls of what's going on in every department. We hear about all the intrigue and the cover-ups, and of course, it's never been at a higher rate than with Coogan. because it's like now this is like the mafia. It's even worse. Yeah, no, I spoke at the beginning of the show about the conversation we had, and I said I was I was enlightened by the conversation, and I'm extremely comfortable voting for you. So I'll say it on air. I'm not, I always call it like I see it, and that's the have fun trick or treating. Don't eat too much candy.
Don't eat too much candy. Yeah.
And if you got any leftover Reese's peanut butter cups, let me know. I'll come pick them up. That's my favorite candy.
There you go.
But,
there you go. That works. That works good.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this is one of the most pivotal elections in the history of Fall River, and it's the most, like it's a non-election. It's almost like forget it. It's like I just don't understand why people don't. I don't understand why people would run for office and not at least try to explain their position. And and a council's important. I don't care. If Boomer gets in, if we got the same council, he's got to. I mean, I don't know how you negotiate around these clowns, because Paul Hart and they have voted in critical times in the city in financial trouble for things that were not in the best interest financially in the city of Fall River. And if they get enough of them on a council, a mayor can't do anything.
That's right. Because remember, the mayor proposes, the city council disposes.
That's right.
So if the mayor wants it and the city council is going to side with them, it's not going to happen. And that's going to tie things up. It's going to tie things up.
Yeah, look, and that's the thing. I don't know how we can say that people are not going to show up to the polls. I mean, like I said, I had a conversation with a city employee that said she can't afford to live in Fall. She'd like to live in Fall River, but her rent's cheaper. She found something in another community cheaper, which is unbelievable. But it shows the Coogan effect. In 6 years, I remember before Coogan got in, not too long, a year or two before he got in, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the average rent in Fall River was $750 a month.
Yep.
It's double for a studio apartment now. Do the math. Pretty good at math.
Exactly.
And it's like, Boomer, by the way, I'm sending you that stuff that I wrote on for the thing. I promise you that. I got to make sure I have your email address, but about the three areas of the council. But yeah, I just don't understand why people, I don't know, maybe they're just sick of it. I don't know why. That's another problem. Maybe it's my theory. I'm a conspiracy theorist, CJ. You know that. I have all these dark things that go through my mind. I think that with the city has been done irreparable harm by absentee landlords taking over the majority of the properties.
Yeah.
Because they don't give a shit about the tax rate.
No, they don't.
Because they just raise the rent. They don't care about the tax rate. In the old days, when people from Fall River lived in Fall River and owned property in Fall River, they would be pissed off at the mayor for raising them and having to raise their rent and lose tenants.
That's right.
These predatory developers don't care.
That's right.
They don't care.
And remember, they get a tax break for doing it.
Plus, they get a tax break.
That you pay for.
Shit. These people are living up around in the Boston suburbs, and they've got billions, literally billions of dollars worth of property. And what happens if one doesn't make enough money? They go, that's it. Put it on the market, sell it, abandon it. We don't give a shit.
That's it.
It's all numbers to them. And that's the problem. Owner-occupied property in Fall River has gone down. And when it's not owner-occupied, people do not care. Yeah, no, you're right, Adley. Yeah, yeah, but I think actually the word compassion is banned from the political dictionary.
That's true.
I think that if you say that you can no longer ever run for political office again. That if you have compassion, I think the days of politicians with compassion are long gone. I remember when we had politicians who cared about the people. I remember when John Kennedy made the statement that when we leave office, we will be judged by what we leave behind to determine whether we were statesmen, in other words, people who worked for the people, or we were politicians. Well, lately, all we've gotten in Fall River are politicians, not
That's it.
statesmen.
That's all we've had for a long time. Well, I want to thank y'all for watching. Go out, have a happy Halloween, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable.
Ciao.
Now.